there. All right, the last part of the triangle method, we've solved for the of, we solved for is. Today is going to be solving for the percent symbol. So that's our last leg of the tour, so to speak, solving for the is part. Let me give the first kind of example to show you what I'm talking about. All right, write down this phrase or this question. 45 is what percent of 500? Question mark. So these are the kind of questions we're embarking on today. 45 is what percent of 500? So everything is going to be about solving the percent. Let me make the triangle. And I'm going to follow my same rules I followed since before vacation. Rule number 1 is to look for the word of. And the number that came directly after of was the number 500. So that goes in the of spot. Rule number 2 was percent. Well, there is no percent, so forget that. And rule number 3 is whatever's left over, 45, that's got to be the is number. So 45 goes on top and 500 goes on the bottom. If I use my bar as a fraction bar, I can say 45 over 500. Now I want to talk about Sean's shortcut. Remember, Sean's idea was, gee, Mr. G, if you can somehow get the bottom number to be 500, to be 100, you're in. Is there any way to make the number 500 become the number 100? And if so, what would I do? Tyler?
Times 2.
Not times 2. It's called 500. I want to get down to 100. Eddie?
5 by 5.
Let's divide by 5s. So if I divide the top and the bottom by the number 5, what is 45 divided by 5? Nat?
9 over 100.
9 over 100. Now I know what 9 over 100 is. It's 9%. I'm trying to avoid doing long division. So I thought maybe I could do Sean's shortcut. Try to make the bottom be 100. Work your magic with your numbers. In this case, it worked out pretty well. I got 9%. So that's what would have gone in the percent spot right about here, 9%. So this is kind of like the procedure for today. Let's try another one here. Write down what percent of 35 is 105? Question mark. So what percent of 35 is 105? I'll make the triangle just because it's kind of helpful to know what number goes on top and what number goes on the bottom. So rule number 1 is all about the word of. Here's the word of, and what do I see after the word of? The number 35. That goes in the of spot. Rule number 2 is the percent. Well, there is no, bless you again, there is no percent. And rule number 3 was, whatever number hasn't been used yet, 105, that goes in the is spot. So now it's 35 on the bottom, 105 on the top. So I'll do 105 over 35. Well, I really can't use Sean's method because 35 isn't easily made into 100. So let me do this. Let me do 35 goes into 105. I'll use old style division. Don't freak out. It's going to work out in the end. I did it last year. Right, 35 goes into 105. Oh, man. I know more than one time. I don't think it's 2 times. It might be 3 times. Let's try that. I think 35 goes into 105. Let's try 3 times. All right, 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9. Add the, I knew it. I told you not to fret. Perfect. Look at that. You get the number 3. Now, 3 isn't your answer key. We have to take the number 3 and make it a percent. What does the number 3 become as a percent? Anthony? Not 3%. Max?
30%.
Not 30%. Sean?
0.0.
Not 0.03. Eddie? 300%. Remember, move your decimal 2 spots towards the door, and you get the number 3. So 3 is not the answer key, but 300% is the key. That's a little bit different than the last one. We were able to use Sean's shortcut. When you can't do Sean's shortcut, you have to revert back to old style division. Sorry about that. All right, let's do one more of the same sort. What percent of 90 is 30? And I will make my triangle. I feel better making the triangle because I can see one number goes on top and the bottom. And the first rule is the word of, and right after the word of comes the number 90. Okay. Second rule is the word percent. Well, there is no percent, leave it empty. And rule number 3 is whatever number you haven't used yet, 30, that goes on the top, called the is number. So it's 30 over 90. Well, I look at that as a fraction, and I'm thinking, maybe I can reduce what can you reduce 30 and 90 by? Let's make them smaller numbers. Anthony?
3.
You can divide by 3s. I'm thinking higher. Vanessa? Let's divide by 10s. When you divide by 10s, you get 3 over 9. All right, now, Anthony, what can I divide them by?
3.
Now divide them both by 3s, and I get 1/3. Now, 1/3 is kind of a unique percent. Some kids have memorized this from last year. Some kids know it off the top of their head. Does anyone know what 1/3 becomes as a percent, Eddie?
33.3.
Right. 33 repeating. But we say, instead of saying repeating 3s, we say 33%. You want to be really exact? You want to impress your parents, impress your teacher? The perfect answer key is 33 and 1/3%. I would probably say, 33%. I would round. Now, the perfect answer key is 33 and 1/3. But if you said 33%, I'd give you full credit. You know what you're talking about. Okay, so there's 3 under our belt. I got a couple more left, not too many. All right, the fourth example. Let's do, I'm going to try this out and see how it goes. I hope it's going to go well. Let's try what percent of 300 is 420. I'll make the triangle just so I know what numbers go on top and the bottom of the fraction bar. First rule of thumb is the word of, and right after it comes the number 300. The second rule is percent. We're not going to do that. The third rule is whatever number I haven't used yet, 420, that goes up top. So it looks like this right now. It looks like 420 over 300. I would highly encourage us, we should try doing Sean's shortcut before doing long division. Is there any way I can get the number 100 out of the deal here? I want to find a way to make the bottom piece go from 300 to 100. Vanessa?
Divide by 3.
Let's divide by 3s. So sometimes you're going to luck out and you can use Sean's shortcut. But I might need your help. I need someone to do 420 divided by 3. Eddie?
It's 14.
Is it? Oh, I think it's more than 14. 420 divided by 3. Eddie again?
140.
Is 140. Now we're almost all done. Remember, when a number is over 100, there's your percent answer key. So now we say 140%. I like that one. It was very little hard brain work to do. So if you can try to make the bottom become the number 100, go for it. It's a lot easier. Think of it as Sean's shortcut. So the answer key is 140%. No long division there. Loved it. Now let's try another one here. 48 of 480 is what percent? So 48 of 480 is what percent? Our triangle goes up. So 48 of 480 is what percent? Remember, rule number one is the word of, and right after the word of comes 480. So that goes right downstairs. There's no percent, and so the leftover number I haven't used 48 yet, and that goes on top of the triangle. So it looks like this. 48 over 480. All right about now, I can't use Sean's shortcut yet. So let me do the reducing part, like you learned last year. Do you guys know what you can reduce the top and the bottom by, Tyler?
2.
Even higher than 2. Even higher than 2, Anthony? Even higher than 8. I feel like a game show host. Higher, higher. Nat?
10.
Even higher than 10. Eddie?
48.
48. Let's divide the top and the bottom by 48. 48 divided by 48 is 1. Do you know what 480 divided by 48 is off the top of your head, Jacob? 10. Oh. Wait a minute. Look at this. I think I can now do Sean's shortcut. What would I do to make the bottom number become 100 now so I can do Sean's shortcut? Sean? Let's multiply it by 10, the top and the bottom. And so 1 times 10 is the number 10. Now, 10 over 100 is called 10%. That was kind of a unique one because we got to do some reducing, but then we got to do Sean's shortcut version. So just to show you, there's all different ways of doing it. Now, a lot of kids here are saying, oh, Mr. G, I knew what 1/10 was. I memorized that from last year. I knew 1 over 10 was 10%. Great. If you didn't, then use Sean's shortcut. All right, one more for good luck. Let me do 49 is what percent of 70? My last one, I promise. 49 is what percent of 70? Up goes a triangle. And you know how this whole thing goes. We use the word of goes first. That's from the bottom. 49 obviously goes on top. So now, right now, it looks to me as if it's a fraction. 49 over 70. All right, we can't use Sean's shortcut yet. But I can use the reducing skill. What can I divide the top and the bottom by? Chloe? Let's divide by 7s. 49 divided by 7 is 7, and 70 divided by 7 is 10. Now, right about here, the red flag should go up. The uh-oh ideas. Like Mr. Gru says, light bulb. He has an idea. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I can do Sean's shortcut now. I can make the bottom become 100. How would that happen, though, Max? Right. Top and bottom by 10s. And so 7 times 10 is 70. Now, 70 over 100, make sure you know that means 70%. So quite a mixture. We've had 2 of these where you first reduced and then did Sean's shortcut. Here's an example of Sean's shortcut. This was an example of, well, I guess knowing what 1/3 is. And sometimes, like our second one, you had to do long division. So there's all different varieties here, but the bottom line is you got to get the percent when you're all done. You got to get the percent when you're all done. And that's all there is to it.